Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again. We've got a matchup against my man Marcos here. I'm playing Gecko Moria. He is playing Yamato. We end up tying on that first dice roll, but he ends up taking it on the second one and chooses to go first, if I'm not mistaken. So, really good game here. It ended up being, you know, kind of interesting that I totally jinxed my starting hands. At the very beginning of these matches. I was like, yeah, in this match I just feel like I need to see a blocker, and so I mulligan for a blocker here, and unfortunately don't end up seeing one in the starting hand, but it always feels like I jinx myself against this matchup. I'm just like, yep, just got a mulligan for a blocker and we should be alright, but it doesn't work like that every time. Well, anyways, we're getting into the match. He's going to be going first. I'll be taking second. I do think my starting hand was pretty solid, though. And I did have a Sindri to play here. I didn't know whether I wanted to play it or not. Just in this matchup, it is nice to have the 2K counters. But setting up the trash can be really helpful. I also think that it maybe could have got me closer to finding that blocker. And so I do end up passing, but maybe a little bit of a misplay here for me. He swings 5, and I will just counter out with Dr. Hogback, but, you know, lesson learned on that. And he gets the Ohm off of the Mihawk combo, pretty solid all things considered, and gets a real nice little Holly onto the board as well. It's kind of a nasty combo into this matchup. I'm like, oh, dang, the pressure is on. So I definitely have to deal with this. I know that if I let this stay on the board too long, it can be a really big problem dealing with not only leader swing, but also simultaneously dealing with his characters on board and multiple swings there. So I am just going to use that Suru into Absalom. I really wish that I did have that Great Eruption, but I unfortunately just didn't see it in this exact moment. So I'm deciding what cards to send back to the bottom, and I choose to put back Hogback as well as Gecko Moria. I don't hate it, but it does kind of suck. Hogback is just super nice in this matchup. Luckily, we do have one in hand, but that card is just so nice, being able to get back a bunch of my 2Ks from some of these big leader swings. And I think he's just going to attach all 4 Dawn here and just go 9 with Yamato. We are going to take this. I do end up pulling an Ice Age. I was considering using it on the Mihawk, but I decide not to because I know that I'll probably end up needing that for potentially Hody Jones or potentially the ACOST. The ACOST kid, but usually in this variant of Yamato you don't see ACOST kids, so that's not really what I'm like particularly sweating all that much. I'm like, yeah, if you run ACOST kid in this variant, it's gonna be pretty interesting. But we will just get the 5k through. I'll go ahead and swing 7, no leader effect, and he does end up getting that cracker trigger, which was pretty good. But I do get a Kuzan onto the board, which is fantastic. This card is great into this matchup. I'm also at 3 life, so even if he does happen to run the Gadatsu in this Sky Island package, it's just not going to get there. Reject does unfortunately get there though, so I know like there are some Yamato that run Reject and then others that don't, so it just kind of boils down to, is that going to be a threat here? I'd like to keep Kuzan on board for sure. And he is going to rest 4, use the Reject, unfortunately had it, KOs Kuzan, and now using leader effect, attaching 2 to Cracker. I believe this is swinging into life. Yeah, it is going into life. I do choose to take it. Picking up another 2k though, which all things considered, not that bad. 8k, I am just going to have to counter out though, because we have unfortunately not drawn a blocker yet. As much as I enjoy having these 2k Sindris in hand, we should maybe consider playing one to try and dig a little deeper into, into our deck and see if we can find one. Maybe get it back with ACOST Gecko Moria. We are gonna just swing 5 into the Cracker, just to poke, see what's up. You know, does he have counter? Do we have to worry too much about it? It is going to be a 1k right there, so at least we're getting a card out of hand. As much as I'd like to be pressuring life, I do have to play this game a little cautiously, considering, yeah, I do have no blockers, not only in trash, but in hand. So Borsalino and Sabo just barely escaping me right here. And I think I'm considering playing 8 cost. I think that is like a thought of mine right here. I'm considering doing it, but I just don't think it helps me. Like, it'd be nice to get it onto the board, but then I don't remove Cracker. So I am just going to swing 5 into Cracker and see what he does. I think we're going for that 8 cost play. I think I need to be risky and go as wide on the board as possible. And potentially we could bring back Sindri. Yeah, Sindri could be helpful in just getting a couple cards into trash. I am going to use Gecko Moria here. Unfortunately, we have 2 cards in hand that don't have counter though, so this is fairly risky. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to play Hogback though. So Hogback is gonna go back active, and then we're gonna do Sindri rested. I'll use that Sindri effect first to get 5 into trash. I don't think it's really gonna help me all that much though. I need to kind of pray that I see, nope, and I don't see a blocker, so it's like arguably a good thing and a bad thing that I don't see one. It means that the odds of me pulling one off the next, you know, card in the deck is relatively decent, but it's still not great. I would have liked to potentially have a blocker in the trash, but we don't actually have a Gecko Moria, so I guess it doesn't really help us anyways in this situation. I've got 10 Dawn next turn, but my opponent's got 9 to work with. Cracker's effect won't be relevant here, but I mean, just a massive swing with leader and then play into getting Hody Jones is honestly probably your best bet. I don't really have a lot of removal either. I mean, like the Ice Age into the Lucci will be able to, you know, manage 1 card on the board, but it just doesn't get there. Yeah, I mean, my opponent's only got 3 cards in hand, so I'm okay with that, but putting me to 0 life this turn is definitely like the priority. I feel as though if he just swings super heavy with lead, he's got it. But he does decide to swing 9 double attack, and I will just counter out of this. So I do get out of it, going up to 10 here. But sadly, he's just going to play a Momo, play a little defensive. And he was talking about putting Cracker in there, and I was like, yeah, Big Mom Pirates, huh? And he's just going to pass it back over. Yeah, we end up getting another Dr. Hogback. So good for us to get another 2k into hand, but just not... just doesn't get there. Like, I have to deal with one of these characters on the board and kind of pray that my opponent doesn't get Hody Jones, but attacking into life, it just gives him more and more options of potentially getting to Hody Jones. But I'm going to swing 5. He does take. This is fantastic for me. I feel like I actually have a chance to win now because I was going based off of what he did with that 5k swing. And since he took, I'm just going to go ahead and Ice Age the Momonosuke. I'll go ahead and swing 7 with lead using the effect. I think 7 was correct, but I could have seen myself doing like 6 here and being able to spread out my Dawn a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to use that Absalom to KO the blocker. He does end up getting a 2k out of life, which is very, very good for him in this exact scenario. I'm going to swing 9, and I also have 5 Dawn left. So he knows that I have 1 more Absalom swing, but only 2 cards in hand. He is going to take this. It's not a counter card, but he does have the 0 cost event. So that will get out by trashing a Hody Jones, and then gets up to 12k right here with the counter power, going up with Izo as well as Hiyori. I got to pass it over. I felt like that was my best chance towards the end of this game. I just really needed to see like a Sabo or a Borsalino earlier on in this matchup, because just trashing my whole hand felt really bad. I would have liked to block like one of those 9k, 8k swings that that he was pressuring me with, and I do end up taking this. He's going to attach 2 Dawn using leader effect, but it's really just going to boil down to what does he got. And really unfortunate for us was the 8k swing into life right there with Yamato actually ended up being you know, really rough for me, because I ended up having a 2k and a 1k in hand at that exact moment. If I just had that second 2k from playing the hogback, we would have been fine, but then Momo still would have been on board. But I think I could have got out of the double attack leader swing and then potentially got out of the rest. So I end up unfortunately losing this match to Marcos. I really was looking for like a Sabo or Borsellino that match, just in like the early stage, mid stages of the game. It just helps like not having to trash your entire hand to get out of, you know, these really large swings. But we end up running it back. I was like, dude, I'm out for vengeance. I definitely want to get it this game. We are going to go first into this matchup, and then he's going to play Hiyori on that turn 1, though. Ends up putting down, I think it was a cracker into life, if I'm not mistaken. But it looks like we have a couple options here. I'm just going to go 2 for my good old friend Absalom. I'm not going to use the leader effect. I could just KO the Hiyori. Hiyori is actually, you know, a relatively decent target right here to be KOing, just because Momo bounces it back. There are multiple ways for him to heal, but I'm just not super worried about it at the moment, if I'm being honest. And now we see a 6k double attack. I will just go ahead and counter out of that. I know that the Kiku is rested, so this is very good for me. It gives me an option of swinging into the Kiku and potentially getting it off the board before it gets its life effect. And yeah, I think it just boils down to what cards do we have in hand for potentially playing off of leader. But actually, maybe I'm not going. Oh, I'm not going to use leader effect. And we're just going to swing 8k into it. It does die. And I'll go ahead and play brand new. Taking a look at that top 3, obviously going to take Great Eruption here. Well, obviously because it's my only option, but we'll take it. And now my hand is kind of bricked up. I have 2. It looks like 2 Ice Ages. Oh, this is so bad too. A 9k double attack ends up getting one of my Borsellinos in a Cindery. Luckily, we do have the Sabo, though. So, Sabo is actually really nice for us to maybe cycle out some of those Ice Ages. Not a great start for us. I mean, this is... I feel like the aggro Yamato against this list is kind of rough. It's kind of rough unless I'm able to see, like, the necessary cards in the very beginning of the match. And then going into, like, a really nice Gecko Moria play at the end to try and get some value. But a Onami here does end up KOing my brand new. The funny part about that is that I actually was planning on swinging with brand new. I was gonna do 2 5Ks, but I'm just gonna go 7 here instead. He does end up getting a Hody Jones off of that, though, which is actually solid for him. Unfortunately, I pick up my 3rd Ice Age here. The deck is just not in my favor. I was trying to shuffle out some of these dead cards, but drawing into more does not exactly help. I'll just go ahead and trash 2 of the Ice Ages. I know it's always nice to have 1 to deal with, you know, some of the potential swings on board, but I don't really think about it like that right now. I'm just okay. Well, you know, I need counter power. We don't have the board that I was looking to have at this stage in the game, but with Sabo online, I can at least potentially get out of this block coming from Yamato, or this attack coming from Yamato, and that is going to be a 5k coming at me from Mihawk. And he still has leader effect, so still could potentially use leader effect to swing with Onami as well. I will just 1k out of this, and now 2 onto the Onami is going to give him that 5k swing. I think that this is a pretty free Sabo block, if I'm being honest. I just don't know how much I want to give him the Sabo, but it's looking like I'm going to have to. Yeah, I think I should have just blocked with the Sabo there, and then maybe just taking that hit. I'm not entirely sure. It's rough start for us right now. Down to 2 life. My opponent's got the entire board filled. We do have the 8-drop Moria, but if I go that route, I'm not able to play any of my defensive cards. I'm just playing like a Lucci Helmeppo or something of the sorts to try and get rid of this. But I know that he's only got like 3 cards in hand anyways, so it might be my best option. I feel like he's probably banking on the Hody Jones doing some work, but I'm actually going to go 5 Absalom into the Mihawk here. I'm just going to kind of test the waters, see what he does. He does let it go, and I'll go 5 into the Onami. I want to get this card off the board as well because I do plan on KOing not only the other Mihawk, but the Cracker as well. And so I'm just going to draw one using Great Eruption. I believe I just put this onto... Actually, I don't think it's relevant which one I put it on because we're going to use Helmeppo as well. But I do add it to the Mihawk here. And now Gecko Moria into Lucci and Helmeppo will just KO both of the potential threats for the next turn as well. So now I've put my opponent kind of on a time clock. Like, if he's going to go for game here, he's got to get game. He's like absolutely got to get it. We have a pretty solid amount of cards in hand as well. The sweet spot here is being able to counter out of an 8K. If I can get out of an 8K, then we're pretty much safe. And there it is. There's the Hody Jones. He is going to attach the 3 to leader. So, yeah, 8K to life. And lucky for us, I've got 2 2Ks. And so now we're just going to see a 10K either go into life or Absalom. I think at this point, it doesn't really matter. You're dead anyways. So, yeah, he just goes for Absalom. And we're good to go. Just being able to block that one turn with Sabo was really the big difference on being able to handle this turn exactly. Like, that's why those blockers are so influential. You know, I know it doesn't sound like... oh, he only got to 8 right there. And he's going to have to give me a 2K and, yep, another 1K. Yep. And now I can attach 1 to Lucci. I'll go ahead and swing 7. And then I can put the rest onto leader and we close out the game. Honestly, that's why I wanted to see a blocker that first game. Just being able to stop that, you know, that one play and not have to drop like 2 to 3 cards from hand was massive. Absolutely massive. And, yeah, I usually don't mind this matchup too much. But I tell you what, it is it feels painful when you don't see that one early blocker, and that board that he had established was actually very scary, and he considered countering out of an attack, which I think would have been pretty rough for me. But all things considered, great matches, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. I'll catch y'all in the next one. All right, peace.